The clock strikes a fateful moment, marking the beginning of the end. On this day, the world is plunged into a horrifying apocalypse. Chaos erupts in an office as an unknown terror overwhelms the staff. A lone survivor scrambles away, her escape route blocked by the ravenous horde. Fueled by the thought of her family, she resolves to find a safe place to hide. She takes one last horrified glance back before seeking refuge in a nearby warehouse. From her hiding spot, she witnesses a colleague fall victim to the relentless creatures. In his final moments, the man selflessly urges her to save herself and flee. The shocking sight makes her recoil, her brief moment of safety completely shattered. Now the creature turns its glowing red eyes on her, its next target acquired. The creature lunges forward, a blur of pure, unadulterated rage. Cornered and defenseless, she desperately pleads for someone to rescue her. Just in the nick of time, a mysterious figure makes a sudden appearance. A man wielding a sword leaps into the fray, intercepting the monster's attack. With a single fluid motion, he decisively ends the creature's rampage. A strange system window appears, rewarding him with points for the kill. The woman stares in stunned silence, her terror replaced by utter disbelief. Her rescuer stands over her, calmly addressing her by name, Yunqi. But her relief is cut short as another creature emerges from the shadows. Unfazed, the man's glowing eye locks onto the new enemy, ready for another fight. He effortlessly dispatches the second creature, earning another system notification and more points. The woman grabs his arm, desperately urging him to run, but he remains completely unfazed. His attention snaps back to the corridor as a new wave of monsters begins to emerge. The two are now trapped at the end of the hall, facing an overwhelming and relentless horde. Yunqi struggles to process the horror, questioning if this apocalyptic nightmare is even real. Her rescuer's intense gaze shows he's just as shocked, wondering if this is all a bad dream. A flashback reveals his true identity, also named Yunqi, a rich heir disguised as an office worker, now fighting for his life. Merely 10 minutes before the chaos, he was just another employee walking through a peaceful office. His mind flashes back to a female colleague who had been giving him flirtatious looks. She had jokingly used the apocalypse prophecy as an excuse to ask him to walk her home. He coolly dismisses her apocalypse fears, calling the prophecy an old joke that no one takes seriously. Sensing her persistence, he glances back to question her sincerity, only for her to double down on her act. In her mind, she's confident that her feigned vulnerability is a charm he simply can't resist. When her initial attempt fails, she loudly announces her plight to the entire office, seeking a different volunteer. Her plea immediately attracts a crowd of eager male colleagues, all offering to see her home safely. Annoyed by his complete lack of interest, she glares at Yunqi, muttering about his stubborn nature. The memory fades, his thoughts returning to the present as his hand rests on a mysterious wooden case. He recalls his past self smirking at his desk, cynically viewing the apocalypse as a convenient excuse. A flashback shows the world preparing for disaster, based on a supercomputer's prediction from a decade ago. Citizens had watched in terror as military forces mobilized, realizing the prophecy was becoming a grim reality. For a decade, the world held its breath every year, but the prophesied dark star was a no-show. As martial law finally ends, the public has grown cynical, viewing the apocalypse as just an old, inconvenient joke. The once feared prophecy has now become a cheesy excuse for couples to go on a date. But Yunqi has no time for such trivial matters. His focus is on something far more intriguing. He opens the case to reveal not a toy, but a formidable high-tech sword resting on satin. He remembers a colleague mocking him for his new toy, completely oblivious to its true nature. A note from his family details the weapon's power, the Blade of Annihilation, a prohibited high-tech killing machine. He marvels at how they managed to smuggle such a restricted and powerful item to him. The note carries a personal message, reminding him it's been 3 long years since he left home. He recalls leaving his family's lavish estate to escape an arranged life, deciding it's finally time to go back. He decides to collect his final paycheck tomorrow, finally ready to return to his family. But his moment of peace is shattered as a deafening boom rocks the entire building. A colleague whirls around, startled by the sudden, violent tremor. Everyone's eyes turn upward, their faces frozen in a mixture of confusion and dawning horror. Outside, the prophesied dark star descends upon the city, proving the decade-old joke was a grim reality. Panic erupts as his colleagues realize the government gave no warning, leaving them completely defenseless. A massive system window materializes, announcing the start of the global apocalypse game and stripping humanity of its freedom. The brutal rules become clear. NPCs can be eliminated by players, and in this game, death is permanent. With his eyes glowing ominously, Yunqi questions the identity of these mysterious players. The system cuts off all communication, forcing everyone to choose a class before the deadly game begins. A system window reveals his status as a level 1 NPC, breaking down his attributes just like in a video game. The system then prompts him with a critical choice, forcing him to select a class to begin the game. He understands immediately that his survival hinges on making the correct strategic choice for his class. The first option appears, the Warrior, a melee class that thrives on a bloodthirsty frenzy. Next, the Mage is presented, a spellcaster class specializing in rapid, powerful attacks from a distance. The final standard option is the Knight, a formidable tank class built for pure defense and endurance. He glances at his high-tech sword, realizing it's the perfect weapon for a melee-focused class. As his hand makes contact with the blade, it unleashes a brilliant surge of unexpected energy. The system reacts to the sword's power, bestowing upon him the unique SSS rank class, Ghost Knight. A spectral visage of his new class materializes, its single glowing eye promising immense and terrifying power. The system details his new class, revealing a passive skill that inflicts a permanent death mark on his targets. He realizes with a grim smile that this power allows him, an NPC, to permanently eliminate the so-called players. Another system window appears, bestowing upon him the unique talent Son of the Plane for a massive attribute boost. He grins maniacally, recognizing that these overpowered newbie benefits are essentially a cheat code for survival. Meanwhile, his colleagues panic as a countdown begins, realizing they've been given no class choices and are left defenseless. As the final second ticks away, a man's eye fills with grim determination, bracing for the chaos to come. A blood-red screen officially announces the beginning of the brutal, world-ending apocalypse game. The game starts with immediate violence as one of his colleagues is viciously attacked by a newly transformed monster. The flirty colleague from earlier watches in frozen terror, her playful demeanor replaced by sheer horror. Her moment of shock is cut short as the creature lunges, making her its next unsuspecting target. Her playful act ends in a brutal instant as the monster's attack finds its mark. The office descends into madness as survivors realize they are trapped with ravenous zombies. In a horrifying twist, the flirty colleague transforms, her humanity replaced by a monstrous hunger. A nearby coworker watches in disbelief, realizing with dread that the infection is spreading. Now a creature of instinct, she immediately lunges at another unsuspecting victim. One of the men breaks from his stupor, making a desperate dash for his life. But Yunqi is faster, intercepting the newly turned monster before it can claim another life. The man he saved urges him to flee, but Yunqi's glowing eyes show he has no intention of backing down. The air fills with guttural snarls as more glowing red eyes emerge from the chaos. With the flashback now caught up to the present, Yunqi leads his female namesake through the carnage-filled corridor. As they cautiously advance, a figure suddenly emerges from a side room, catching them both off guard. The woman warns him that she heard a sound coming from the direction of the unexpected arrival. The man charges forward in a panic, prompting Yunqi to raise his sword, mistaking him for a threat. He halts his blade just inches from the man's throat as the terrified colleague insists he's still human. Yunqi recognizes the cowardly man as his office colleague, Liu Yang, who trembles under the sword's edge. After a stern warning not to startle them again, Yunqi and his companion leave Liu Yang on the blood-stained floor. Enraged at being abandoned, Liu Yang furiously accuses Yunqi of being inhuman for not helping him. Yunqi coldly retorts, exposing Liu Yang's shameful history of stealing credit and mistreating a female coworker. The shocking revelation leaves Liu Yang speechless, his face contorting with fury and disbelief. Ignoring his desperate pleas to team up, Yunqi and the woman resolutely walk away, leaving him behind. The woman notes Liu Yang's Knight class, suggesting he's a powerful ally they shouldn't abandon. But Yunqi dismisses her concern, believing a strong class can't change a person's worthless character. Left behind, Liu Yang seethes with rage, grabbing a nearby cleaning tool from the blood-soaked floor. Fueled by humiliation, he lunges forward, swinging the makeshift weapon at Yunqi's back in a surprise attack. Without even turning, Yunqi effortlessly blocks the desperate strike with the hilt of his glowing sword. The sheer force of the parry sends Liu Yang reeling, his attack completely neutralized. A single drop hits the floor, marking the moment Liu Yang's defiance crumbles into terror. His failed attack leaves him vulnerable as a creature looms over him, its glowing eyes fixated on Yunqi's sword. Paralyzed by fear, Liu Yang turns his desperate gaze back to the people he just attacked, pleading for rescue. Ignoring his pleas, Yunqi continues to walk away, leaving his treacherous colleague to face his grim fate alone. He abruptly halts, his feet planted firmly on the blood-stained floor. She grabs his arm, demanding he stop his cold detachment and face their grim reality. With glowing eyes, he fiercely reminds her that this is the apocalypse, a world without mercy. He forces her to envision the world they lost, a burning city under the ominous dark star. The brutal start of the game flashes by, a scene of humanity being viciously torn apart. Stunned by his harshness, she stares in disbelief, questioning the man he's become. He warns her that her naivety is a weakness that will make her the next victim. His chilling lesson hits home, her expression shifting from shock to dawning fear. With the point made, he turns away, stating their priority is finding shelter from the horde. As he heads for a nearby door, she calls out his name, her voice filled with uncertainty. She opens the door to find another survivor, her face lighting up with relief as she calls out a name. But her hope is shattered as a monster lunges at the glass, its feral roar echoing through the room. They enter a room with other survivors, watching as creatures relentlessly try to break in. He grimly assesses the situation, realizing only a handful of their colleagues have survived the initial chaos. The small group huddles in a conference room, a grim tableau of despair against the backdrop of a burning city. The newcomer, Jia, weeps in a corner, unable to comprehend the sudden and brutal end of her world. While another man despairs, the female Yunqi tries to focus on the simple fact that they are still alive. Tensions flare as one man furiously blames Jia for attracting the horde by opening the door. The company manager, Cao Yuqian, erupts in selfish anger, accusing them of endangering the group. A security guard named Zhao Nian steps in, his expression hardening as he challenges the manager's cruel words. Yunqi recalls the guard, Zhao Nian, bursting in with a horde of monsters hot on his heels. The manager doubles down, accusing the guard of trapping them and demanding he be thrown out before he turns. Enraged by the accusation, Zhao Nian advances on the cowardly manager, ignoring Yunqi's silent presence. Having finally had enough, the guard grabs the manager by the collar, furious at his leader's selfish cruelty. He shoves the reality of the apocalypse in the manager's face, promising to show him what a real monster looks like. The confrontation erupts as the conference room window is violently shattered. Zhao Nian drags the screaming manager toward the broken window, revealing the 17-story drop. Yunqi's hand tightens on his sword, his gaze fixed on the escalating conflict. The manager pleads for his life as the guard, blinded by fury, prepares to send him plummeting to his doom. The female Yunqi rushes forward to intervene, but the guard looks up, his grim determination unwavering. She desperately reveals her mage class, offering to heal his wounds and prevent his transformation. Yunqi inwardly curses her naivety for revealing such critical information to a room full of strangers. The other survivors realize the danger, as everyone has been hiding their abilities out of mutual distrust. By exposing her valuable skills, she has now made herself a target in this new, ruthless world. The guard's rage gives way to shock, his attention now fixed on the woman who claims she can heal. The manager sees his chance, frantically telling the guard to trust her so they can all survive. But the guard's face twists into a chilling, predatory smile, his intentions far from peaceful. With a crazed look, he declares it's time to change their fates, his hand shooting toward the terrified manager. His eyes widen with a terrifying resolve, his sanity completely abandoned in the heat of the moment. The woman watches in absolute horror as a dark power begins to manifest, shattering her hope for a peaceful resolution. Yunqi watches the escalating conflict, his glowing eyes revealing a cold, analytical focus. The confrontation ends in a shocking and irreversible act of violence. The woman stares in absolute horror, unable to process the guard's sudden, brutal turn. Zhao Nian turns to her with a chilling smile, admitting his motive was simply personal dislike. She recoils in disbelief, appalled that he would end a life over such a petty grievance. The guard dismisses her concern for human life, his glowing hand a testament to his new, ruthless philosophy. Fully embracing his warrior class, Zhao Nian declares the manager was merely a stepping stone to his own power. Yunqi observes silently, recognizing the true horror of a world without law or morality. Fueled by a dark aura, the guard advances on the woman, declaring she now belongs to him. She recoils in terror, desperately trying to fight him off as he moves to grab her. Yunqi springs into action, delivering a powerful kick that sends the guard flying. The enraged guard glares up, accusing Yunqi of wanting the woman for himself. Yunqi calmly clarifies that his interest is purely strategic, focused only on her valuable skills. He understands that a mage who can heal is an invaluable asset for surviving the apocalypse. Furious at the interference, the guard grabs the nearest object to use as a weapon. He brandishes a fire extinguisher, ready to eliminate his new rival. Leaping forward, he declares that Yunqi will be just another casualty on his path to domination. Yunqi effortlessly parries the heavy strike with his sword, the impact sending sparks flying. His expression shifts to surprise as he notices something unexpected about his opponent. He spots a wound on the guard's shoulder, realizing with alarm that the man is already infected. The guard's face contorts with monstrous glee, yet he can still speak, a fact that puzzles Yunqi. He realizes the warrior class amplifies the infection, turning the host into a super zombie. With incredible agility, he dodges a furious downward strike from the infected guard. Recognizing the guard as a ticking time bomb, he resolves to end the fight now. He pivots into a decisive upward slash, his blade meeting the guard with overwhelming force. The guard's face contorts in a silent scream as the decisive strike finds its mark. A final, powerful kick sends the guard reeling, his makeshift weapon shattering from the impact. As the dust settles, he stands victorious over the fallen guard, his companion looking on from a distance. The other survivors watch in stunned terror, horrified that he has taken another life. She watches him turn away without a word, his cold demeanor leaving her unsettled. He hopes his companion has learned a harsh lesson about the consequences of her recklessness. He justifies his actions, knowing that controlling the survivors through fear is now his most effective strategy. Putting his plan into action, he turns to the terrified survivors with a challenging gaze. His colleagues recoil in terror, frantically assuring him they mean no harm and only want to survive. His point made, he allows the glowing energy of his sword to dissipate from his hand. Taking charge, he instructs his companion to heal the others, and she readily agrees. She nervously begins her first healing session, a green orb of light forming between her hands as she tends to Jia. While the others are tended to, Yunqi approaches a desk to check for any working technology. Finding the laptop useless, he reaches into his pocket for his own device. His phone confirms his suspicion. All communication networks are down, leaving them completely isolated. He realizes the game's world channel is their only lifeline, but knows everyone else is thinking the same thing. The world chat confirms his theory, flooded with desperate messages from scattered and panicked survivors. He grimly concludes that most people are helpless, waiting for a rescue that may never come. Deciding to focus on his own power, he pulls up his personal system interface for a closer look. He finally analyzes his unique Son of the Plane talent, which allows him to multiply non-combat attributes. While most of his stats are clear, he's baffled by a mysterious attribute called Combatability. He wisely decides to save the powerful 100x boost, deeming it too risky to use without understanding all the rules. Opting for a safer strategy, he chooses to apply a 10x multiplier to his point acquisition instead. The upgrade is a success, and he smirks, knowing he can now grow his power 10 times faster than anyone else. Elsewhere in the room, his companion suddenly feels weak and ravenous, a consequence of using her healing magic. He realizes their temporary shelter is a death trap, knowing they can't stay hidden forever. He knows they only have 20 hours before the so-called players arrive, escalating the danger. He envisions the coming massacre, a future far more brutal than the current zombie outbreak. His sword glows with power as he decides to use this limited time to rack up as many points as possible. His sudden resolve alarms the other survivors who desperately question his plan to leave. One of the women panics, pointing to the ravenous creatures clawing at the door, trying to break in. With his eyes glowing ominously, he ignores their pleas and demands they get out of his way. His female namesake tries to reason with him, reminding him of the dangers lurking just outside. He turns his back on them, declaring he'll fight alone and leave them to their fate if they choose to cower. The terrified woman argues that staying put is a better option than charging into certain doom. The other survivors argue that while he's armed, they would be helpless against the horde outside. His companion grabs his arm, pleading for him to wait for a military rescue she believes is coming. He knows better, realizing the apocalypse game makes any conventional rescue highly unlikely. Suddenly, a deafening sound from outside rattles the room, catching everyone's attention. Both he and his companion look up, startled by the unexpected development. Outside, a fleet of advanced military aircraft soars over the ruined city skyline. A military commander broadcasts a message of hope, identifying himself as the leader of an advanced rescue team. He announces a full-scale rescue operation, instructing survivors to head to high ground for extraction. The message brings a wave of relief to the terrified survivors, who believe their ordeal is almost over. His companions celebrate, their faith in a swift rescue seemingly justified, much to his surprise. But the commander's broadcast is cut short by a sinister system notification, declaring all interference will be eliminated. In an instant, the entire rescue fleet is engulfed in a cataclysmic explosion. The survivors can only watch in stunned silence as their last hope is brutally extinguished. Flaming wreckage from the destroyed aircraft rains down upon the already devastated city. A massive piece of debris slams into a neighboring skyscraper, triggering an earth-shattering blast. The resulting shockwave rips through the streets below, sending panicked citizens flying. The force of the impact violently throws the survivors off their feet, shattering their fragile sense of safety. Their brief moment of hope is replaced by the horrifying spectacle of the city's complete annihilation. A massive shard of metal hurtles directly toward their floor, promising imminent destruction. As the building crumbles around them, Yunqi grabs his companion, pulling her from the path of the collapsing floor. As the floor gives way, his companion plummets, screaming his name for help. He digs his fingers into the crumbling debris, realizing the game's difficulty has just skyrocketed. A new system message announces a supply drop, but cruelly designates NPCs as targets for players. With grim determination, he formulates a desperate plan to escape the collapsing structure. Dangling precariously, he instructs her to jump with him, a plan she meets with sheer terror. Without waiting for her consent, he leaps from the ledge, pulling them both into a free fall. He holds her tight, his focus unwavering as they plummet towards the ground below. The two hurtle past shattered floors and falling debris, escaping one catastrophe for another. Gravity takes hold, pulling them down at a terrifying speed through the dust-filled air. He lands with a ground-shattering impact, shielding her from the force of the fall. His eye narrows with satisfaction, his risky gambit having paid off perfectly. He holds his companion securely as she expresses her gratitude for the daring rescue. Without a word, he sets her down and strides forward, his glowing sword leading the way. His attention is fixed on a massive supply crate that landed amidst the rubble. She realizes with a jolt that his death-defying leap was a calculated move to secure the supplies. His insane adaptability leaves her stunned. He's already focused on gaining an advantage. But their brief respite is shattered as a creature erupts from behind the crate, lunging to attack. He calmly intercepts the zombie's strike, his blade holding the creature at bay. Unfazed by the ambush, he prepares to unleash a devastating counterattack. A powerful swing of his sword forces the agile monster to retreat, narrowly avoiding the blow. The creature lets out a furious roar, its eyes glowing with pure, unbridled rage. The deafening sound echoes through the ruins, but Yunqi remains completely unfazed by the approaching horde. His companion, however, looks back in terror as more creatures crawl from the wreckage. She realizes with horror that they are now completely surrounded, trapped by the relentless monsters. Standing back to back, they are the epicenter of a closing circle of the undead. He coldly decides they must split up to survive, a plan she meets with understandable fear. Without another word, he dashes into the fray, instructing her to make a run for it. He moves with deadly grace, his blade cutting a path through the first creature in his way. A system notification rewards him with points as he glares back, his message of survival clear. He leaps away from the horde, drawing their attention as he puts his daring escape plan into motion. The female Yunqi flees in terror as more creatures pursue her. Overwhelmed, she despairs, unsure how to escape the relentless horde. Yunqi cuts a swathe through the creatures, clearing a path for her escape. He urges her to run, his actions speaking louder than words. He grips his sword, ready to face the remaining monsters. His blade flashes, ending the threat of several more creatures. Another wave of monsters emerges, their numbers seemingly endless. He prepares for another onslaught, his glowing eye fixed on the approaching horde. His sword becomes a blur, dispatching the creatures with brutal efficiency.
He stands amidst the carnage, his resolve unwavering.
He stands victorious, surrounded by the aftermath of his brutal efficiency. From a distance, his companion watches as he surveys the scene he created. Catching her breath, she believes the immediate danger has finally passed. He smirks, already calculating the advantage his 10x point boost gives him in this deadly game. His focus shifts back to the real prize, the system-dropped supply crate amidst the rubble. He quickly makes his way to the crate, ready to claim his reward. A system notification rewards him with a hefty sum of points just for finding the supplies. The sudden influx of points makes him wonder about his standing among the other survivors. He's stunned to find himself in third place on the leaderboard, trailing two legendary figures. The name at the top belongs to Fang Gan, the renowned god of war from the Human Alliance. The second name on the list is Yuan Jin, the renowned strategic mastermind of the Alliance. He understands these two men are considered humanity's greatest hope against the apocalypse. Yunqi deduces their high scores come from organized teams looting supply drops, not just killing monsters. To avoid unwanted attention from these powerhouses, he wisely chooses to keep his name hidden on the leaderboard. His companion approaches, curious about the contents of the newly acquired supply crate. He pops the latches, opening the crate to reveal a treasure trove of useful items. Inside, he finds a collection of life potions, combat enhancers, and even another weapon. He examines a healing vial, realizing he can now tend to his own injuries without help. He coldly reevaluates his companion's usefulness, seeing her as more of a liability now that he can heal himself. With a grim look of resolve, he turns away, his mind already calculating his next move. His moment of triumph is cut short as a new, agile female creature ambushes him from the rooftops. The creature's face contorts with a terrifying, bloodthirsty glee, its glowing red eyes fixed on him. He warns his companion to keep her distance as she watches the new battle unfold with growing dread. The creature attacks with blinding speed, forcing Yunqi to parry a series of lightning-fast strikes. He retaliates with a powerful slam of his sword, shattering the pavement where she just stood. The creature easily evades his attack, and he's stunned by her inhuman agility and speed. With a predatory grin, she closes the distance in an instant, her claws poised for a lethal strike. Her relentless assault catches him off guard, his expression shifting to one of genuine surprise. He narrowly deflects her vicious claw attack, the sheer force of it pushing him to his limit. The resulting shockwave sends the creature hurtling backward, momentarily ending her ferocious assault. He digs his fingers into the shattered pavement, bracing himself for the next exchange. The creature lets out a furious roar from a distance, but Yunqi stands his ground, unfazed. He quickly deduces this is no ordinary zombie, but a mutated creature with twice the power. Realizing he's outmatched, he summons a combat-enhancing potion from the supply crate. With a look of grim resolve, he injects the potion, a green aura flaring around him. A system window confirms the boost, a 20% increase to all combat stats for a mere 10 seconds. He scoffs at the short duration, unimpressed with the quality of his newfound supplies. Wasting no time, the creature lunges forward again, a blur of red-tinged fury. Knowing every second counts, he channels the temporary boost into a powerful counterattack. His enhanced speed proves just enough to land a single decisive strike, ending the creature's assault. The creature lets out a furious roar, its rage amplified by the blow. But she's far from finished, her claws digging into his blade to halt his momentum. She presses the attack, her claws scraping against his sword as she lunges forward again. The sheer force of her strike sends a jolt through him, a red blur marking the near miss. His companion watches in terror, her face a mask of shock as she fears the worst. The creature becomes a whirlwind of motion, forcing him to block a flurry of devastating attacks. He grits his teeth, using all his strength to hold his ground against the relentless assault. The battle rages across the ruins, with the agile creature using the debris to launch another attack. He curses inwardly as he realizes his 10-second combat boost has already worn off. His gaze snaps to the empty supply crate, knowing he must find a way to get closer and rearm. The creature lets out a furious roar, its face twisted in pure animalistic rage. But Yunqi meets her fury with a confident, almost mocking smirk. He feints an attack, drawing her attention with a powerful downward slash. His hand tightens on the hilt, selling the feint with every ounce of his strength. Seizing the opening, he suddenly pivots and makes a desperate dash for the supply crate. His eyes are locked on his goal, knowing it's his only chance to rearm and survive. But the creature is unnaturally fast, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Just as she's about to pounce, 2 vials are tossed through the air toward him. He snatches the potions mid-sprint, his expression a mix of surprise and relief. He glances back to see his companion was the one who threw him the life-saving supplies. His companion brandishes a glowing weapon, trying to create a diversion. With a desperate cry, she attempts to taunt the creature, drawing its attention away from him. Her attempt at a heroic distraction comes off as more comical than intimidating. The creature halts its attack, momentarily confused by her bizarre display. He uses the opening to inject the potions, grudgingly admitting she can be useful after all. Her taunt succeeds, and the enraged creature turns its full murderous attention toward her. The monster lunges, becoming a blur of motion as it closes in on its new target. System notifications confirm he's boosted his combat stats and reduced his pain sensitivity for 10 seconds. His eyes glow with focus. He knows he must make every moment of this power-up count. The creature charges forward, a whirlwind of red fury intent on tearing his companion apart. With his stats boosted, he becomes a green blur, rocketing forward to intercept the monster. Just as the creature's claws are about to find their mark, he intercepts the attack, saving his companion. With glowing eyes and gritted teeth, he channels his newfound power to push the creature back. The enhanced power proves overwhelming, sending the creature hurtling backward from the force of his strike. Crashing into the rubble, the creature lets out a final, furious roar before succumbing to her injuries. He stands victorious over the fallen monster as his companion rushes to his side, Relieved he's safe. Wasting no time, she begins casting her healing magic, a green aura enveloping him as she mends his injuries. As the healing energy flows, he silently notes that her power is growing much faster than he expected. This newfound resolve shows on her face as she pushes through the strain, focused on mastering her abilities. Her expression softens with gratitude, realizing he risked everything to save her when he could have easily left her behind. She watches him fight, her expression hardening with the resolve to become a true partner in battle. He acknowledges her healing magic is far more valuable than any temporary item from a supply crate. With the battle won and his wounds mended, he leads them away from the scene of the fight. He retrieves a dagger from the ground, another useful tool from the supply drop. He hands her the weapon, testing her resolve by ordering her to finish off the fallen creature. He explains his cold logic. In this world, she must get stronger and earn her own points to survive. His words hit home, and she realizes with dawning horror that she can't depend on him forever. Steeling her nerves, she stands over the defeated monster, preparing to take a life for the first time. Her hands tremble but grip the dagger tightly, a symbol of her commitment to this brutal new reality. With a desperate cry, she raises the blade, ready to make the grim choice required for survival. With a final, desperate roar, the creature is met with a decisive and irreversible blow. She stands over the fallen monster, having successfully completed her grim but necessary task. A system window rewards her with 500 points and a new single-target healing skill for her first kill.
She excitedly tells him about her rewards, but her success seems to have a strange effect on him.
Yunqi stumbles to his knees, his mind reeling from the sheer value of the kill he just gave away. He frantically calculates that with his 10x boost, those 500 points would have been 5,000, rocketing him to the top of the leaderboard. She questions his odd behavior, but he quickly dismisses it as a moment of sudden exhaustion. He realizes her healing ability is far too valuable to lose, resolving to keep her by his side at all costs. Taking charge once more, he declares their supplies are gone, and their next priority is finding shelter. His sharp, calculating gaze reveals his mind is already several steps ahead, planning their survival. His companion confidently announces she knows a place with plenty of supplies. She points them toward a specific residential area amidst the ruined city. Following her lead, they navigate the narrow, debris-filled alleyways. They arrive to find the street already cleared of monsters, a sign that other survivors have been through. Peeking around a corner, he correctly identifies the community she's leading them to. He realizes with a knowing look that the promised shelter is actually her own home. Stunned, she asks how he knew, and he reveals he's more observant than she thought. She admits her true goal is to find her parents, but promises a huge stash of hoarded food. With a hopeful blush, she nervously invites him to stay and meet her family. He coldly dismisses her personal offer, stating their only goal is to secure the supplies. Yunqi and his companion prepare to leave the ruined office building. He stops her, wanting to ensure she remembers his survival advice. She confidently assures him she has memorized the key details. She begins reciting the 3 most dangerous player classes. Assassins with their innate combat proficiency are a significant threat. Shooters, equipped with deadly firearms, are another dangerous class. Beast tamers, commanding powerful creatures, are the 3rd major threat. She questions the overall strength of these specialized classes. He emphasizes the extreme danger posed by shooters in particular. He demonstrates a powerful move, emphasizing the need for swift action. His lesson is cut short as he realizes the horrifying implications of her question. His companion cries out his name in alarm, sensing the new, unseen danger. A red laser sight suddenly paints a target directly on his forehead. From a nearby rooftop, a sniper reports their position, mistaking them for monsters. Yunqi's worst fear is confirmed. They've been spotted by a deadly shooter. Through the sniper's scope, he raises his hands, desperately trying to signal they are not a threat. The sniper coldly demands they prove their humanity or face immediate elimination. He's at a loss, unsure how to prove they're still human to a trigger-happy stranger. Just then, one of the fallen creatures on the street begins to stir, its head snapping up with a guttural roar. The reanimated monster lets out a furious scream, its glowing red eyes promising another fight. Seizing the opportunity, Yunqi leaps forward, bringing his sword down on the reanimated creature. A system notification confirms the kill, rewarding him with 100 points for his quick thinking. He smirks, realizing he's not only proven his humanity, but also found an easy way to farm points. He gestures to his companion, urging her to finish off the remaining creatures for her own reward. With a look of grim determination, she grips the glowing dagger, ready to follow his lead. She overcomes her hesitation, delivering a final blow and earning her first points from the sniper's leftovers. Notifications flood in, showing the vast difference in points earned between his powerful kills and her finishing blows. The sniper on the roof erupts in fury, accusing them of stealing his hard-earned points. His companion blushes at being called Yunqi's girlfriend, a detail he completely ignores. Convinced they're human, the sniper's team approaches, ordered to check them for any signs of infection. Yunqi's gaze hardens as he carefully assesses the approaching team. He quickly identifies them as a well-equipped group of shooters supported by mages. He notes their professional formation, deducing they are a well-organized, possibly military unit. A female soldier reports to her superior that neither Yunqi nor his companion show any signs of infection. The team's vice captain smirks, remarking on their luck for running into his law enforcement squad. The vice captain confirms they are from the public order department, having armed themselves to establish a defensive line. He explains their mission is to evacuate survivors before withdrawing, offering them a chance at safety. Yunqi realizes this organized effort explains the cleared streets and the numerous monster corpses. The sound of approaching footsteps signals the arrival of the team's leader. The team snaps to attention, saluting their approaching leader, a man they call Captain Han. Captain Han Yi of the law enforcement team arrives, a serious figure of authority. He questions the two survivors, Yunqi and his companion, about their presence. The female Yunqi introduces herself and her companion, mentioning her concern for her parents in Green Bay. Captain Han expresses his grim assessment of the situation in Green Bay. The female Yunqi reacts with shock and fear to the captain's news. Yunqi pulls his companion away, sensing a shift in the situation. Yunqi questions the captain's certainty about the situation in Green Bay. Another team member questions Yunqi's boldness in challenging the captain. Captain Han explains how his team has been trying to contact survivors. He shares the grim reality of the situation in Green Bay, confirming its likely downfall. Yunqi listens silently, his expression unreadable as he processes the grim news. The captain advises her against a reckless search, stating her parents would want her to survive. Yunqi holds his distraught companion, realizing she's not ready to face the potential loss of her family. Their conversation is cut short by a thunderous tremor as a new threat announces its arrival. A scout runs in with an urgent warning. A non-zombie threat is approaching from the north. Yunqi's eyes widen in horrified recognition, realizing exactly what kind of danger they now face. A massive stampede of mutated beasts thunders through the ruined city streets toward them. The creatures are identified as mutated zombie pigs, their glowing red eyes promising a brutal fight. Captain Han immediately orders his team into a defensive formation, preparing for the onslaught. He commands the shooters to the front, setting up a deadly firing line to meet the charge. He orders the knights and warriors to form a second line, creating a formidable wall of shields. The mages are instructed to stay back, ready to unleash their healing magic without restraint. Yunqi is impressed, noting the law enforcement team has already developed a smooth combat rhythm. A scout shouts that the mutated pigs have entered their firing range, their charge kicking up dust. With a look of grim determination, Captain Han gives the command to open fire. The squad unleashes a coordinated volley of bullets as mages erect a protective barrier. The initial barrage strikes the charging horde but fails to slow their terrifying momentum. Undeterred, the furious beasts leap over their fallen comrades, continuing their relentless advance. The scout warns his captain that their defenses won't hold for long against the overwhelming force. Captain Han watches in disbelief, realizing even their strongest firepower is not enough to stop the stampede. Captain Han orders a full retreat behind the bunker. The shooters desperately call for a reload, low on ammunition. One of the shooters struggles to retreat, hampered by a leg injury. A mutated pig closes in on the injured shooter, a terrifying threat. The vice captain shouts a warning, noticing the imminent danger. Yunqi intervenes, unleashing a powerful attack on the mutated pig. The vice captain and another team member react to the sudden intervention. Yunqi stands his ground, having neutralized the immediate threat. The vice captain comments on Yunqi's resourcefulness and unique talent. The team regroups, relieved that their comrade survived the encounter. The vice captain thanks him, but Yunqi coldly clarifies his motive was purely tactical, to avoid attracting more monsters. He inwardly curses, annoyed that he was forced to reveal his hand before assessing the team's full capabilities. The relentless stampede of mutated pigs continues, their sheer numbers a terrifying sight. Realizing their defenses are failing, the vice captain calls for heavy artillery support. A rocket squad rushes to the front line, bringing their powerful launchers to bear against the horde. A soldier fires a rocket, sending it hurtling towards the center of the monstrous stampede. The resulting explosion engulfs the front line of the horde, sending beasts flying. A chain reaction of blasts tears through the charging creatures, lighting up the street. Even after the devastating barrage, countless pigs continue their charge through the smoke and flames. Suddenly, a new, more dangerous variant emerges from the chaos, crackling with electrical energy. Yunqi coldly assesses their strategy, realizing their brute force attacks are inefficient without targeting vital points. The vice captain desperately calls for another volley, only to learn they're down to their very last rocket. Before the stunned soldier can react, the heavy weapon is suddenly snatched from his hands. To everyone's shock, Yunqi commandeers the rocket launcher, demanding the soldier hand it over. The soldier tries to protest, completely baffled by Yunqi's sudden and audacious move. Ignoring the panicked soldier, Yunqi takes aim, his glowing eye fixed on an unconventional target. He fires the last rocket, sending it soaring not at the horde, but towards a nearby skyscraper. The soldier erupts in fury, believing the newcomer has just wasted their final chance by missing his shot. The rocket slams into the building, triggering a massive collapse that sends tons of rubble plummeting toward the street. The stampede is buried under a mountain of debris, but a furious roar from beneath the wreckage signals the fight is far from over. The street is a chaotic mess of rubble and fallen beasts, but some monsters still stand, ready to fight. The soldier who doubted him can only stare in disbelief, his mind struggling to process the successful gambit. Yunqi smirks with satisfaction as the vice captain grudgingly admits the newcomer's tactical genius. Beneath the mountain of debris, the surviving pigs begin to stir, their glowing eyes promising more carnage. The vice captain barks a warning, reminding his team the fight is far from over as the monsters recover. Yunqi points to a distant plume of smoke, explaining the city's nuclear power plant is now without its emergency systems. Captain Han's face pales as he grasps the catastrophic implications of a potential meltdown. Springing into action, the captain orders his vice captain to lead a team to repair a critical power cable. The law enforcement squad mobilizes immediately, preparing to execute their new desperate mission. But the immediate threat roars back to life as the enraged pigs prepare to renew their furious assault. The vice captain reports to his leader, having secured the high-voltage power cable. Captain Han urgently orders him to throw the live cable into the water below. With a mighty heave, the vice captain hurls the sparking cable towards the flooded street. The cable slams into the water, unleashing a massive surge of raw electrical power. A wave of electricity arcs across the ground, racing directly toward the charging horde. The stampede is engulfed in a blinding flash, the creatures roaring as they're caught in the electrical current. A flood of system notifications confirms the plan's success, racking up kill after kill. Yunqi smirks, confident that any survivors of the blast will be severely weakened. The vice captain marvels at the sheer power of the emergency generator they've tapped into. But Yunqi reveals his true genius, explaining how debris from the collapse amplified the water's conductivity. The vice captain is stunned by Yunqi's ability to devise a solution using only their surroundings. He realizes the young man's terrifying adaptability makes him an invaluable yet unpredictable asset. But Yunqi warns them it's too early to celebrate as the surviving pigs renew their charge. The law enforcement squad braces for impact, their shields the only thing between them and the furious beasts. A massive pig leaps into the air, easily overwhelming one of the soldiers in the front line. The soldier struggles to parry the devastating blow, the creature's raw power nearly shattering his defense. The battle descends into chaos as the team is forced into close-quarters combat with the enraged survivors. Captain Han grimly notes that the pig's impact force is even greater than that of a level 5 zombie. The defensive line begins to crumble under the relentless assault, the soldiers crying out that they can't hold on. Realizing the situation is dire, Yunqi knows he must act now to turn the tide of the battle. A furious mutated pig with glowing red eyes barrels forward, ready to trample everything in its path. Unflinching, Yunqi snatches a riot shield and prepares to meet the monstrous charge head-on. The vice captain yells in alarm, certain that a direct confrontation with the beast is a suicide mission. But Yunqi stands firm, sword and shield at the ready, calmly predicting the creature's demise instead of his own. He expertly plants the shield into the pavement, creating an immovable anchor against the incoming force. The creature's tusk grinds against the shield's surface, its charge halted by his surprising strength. The enraged pig roars, finding itself face to face with the tip of Yunqi's blade. With a stunning display of leverage, he redirects the beast's momentum, effortlessly flipping it into the air. His eye flares with a brilliant blue light as he prepares to unleash a decisive finishing move. A flurry of swift, powerful slashes cuts through the air, intercepting the airborne creature with brutal precision. A system notification confirms the kill, awarding him a massive 2,000 points for his efforts. The point boost unlocks his first-class skill, Resurrection. He examines the details of his new ability, which allows him to revive and enslave a single creature. A smirk spreads across his face as he realizes the game-changing potential of this new power. His gaze falls upon the fallen pig, the perfect test subject for his newfound ability. With a chilling smile, he prepares to test the limits of his necromantic power. He channels his energy, commanding the fallen beast to rise once more. A glowing orb of green energy forms in his hand, pulsing with otherworldly power. The energy surges into the creature's body, which begins to stir and reanimate under his command. The pig rises, no longer a wild beast but a spectral servant, its loyalty now bound to him. The vice captain stares in disbelief, sweat beading on his brow as he witnesses the impossible. He shouts a frantic warning, believing Yunqi is in danger from the supposedly defeated creature. The soldier stumbles back in shock as the reanimated beast rises to its feet with terrifying speed. To his astonishment, Yunqi leaps onto the spectral pig, turning the monster into his personal mount. Yunqi grimaces, unimpressed by the ridiculous pig rider title the soldier just gave him. He acknowledges that despite the silly name, his new servant's combat power is undeniably impressive. With his sword raised high, he charges into the horde, ready to unleash his new weapon. He and his mount become a whirlwind of destruction, racking up thousands of points as they tear through the enemy ranks. The entire law enforcement squad can only watch in stunned silence at his overwhelming power. He effortlessly carves a path through the remaining beasts, leaving a trail of defeated monsters in his wake. His spectral servant sinks its teeth into another beast, proving its loyalty in the most brutal way. Another system notification appears as he and his mount continue their devastating charge through the horde. The ground shatters under the weight of another fallen monster, a testament to their overwhelming force. The vice captain orders his remaining shooters to provide covering fire, fully committing to supporting their new powerhouse. He effortlessly parries a leaping beast, his sword a blur of motion as he defends his mount. The battlefield is a chaotic landscape of smoke and shattered pavement, the evidence of a hard-won fight. Surveying the field of defeated monsters, he calmly declares the pig stampede has been dealt with. But his victory is short-lived as a new horde of zombies emerges from the dust, their glowing eyes fixed on the survivors. The law enforcement team realizes their fight for survival is far from over as the undead shamble forward. With renewed determination, the vice captain rallies his squad for one final push, promising them victory and a safe return home. The squad roars with renewed confidence, ready to charge into the final battle. But his companion suddenly cries out, pleading for them to stop the attack. Yunqi turns back, completely baffled by her sudden outburst. He sees her rush past the confused vice captain, her eyes fixed on the approaching zombies. Her face is a mask of pure horror and disbelief as she stares at the horde. He watches her intense reaction, a dreadful realization beginning to dawn on him. His gaze follows hers to two specific zombies shambling at the front of the undead wave. With tears streaming down her face, she recognizes the two monsters as her own parents. Yunqi shouts a desperate warning, trying to stop her from running into danger. He stands frozen, processing the horrifying truth that the monsters she's trying to reach are her family. Yunqi blocks his companion, coldly stating the creatures before them are not the parents she knew. The confused vice captain orders his squad to ignore the outburst and prepare to eliminate the zombie threat. The law enforcement team charges forward, ready to attack, as the companion watches in helpless horror. Riding his spectral mount, Yunqi leaps over her zombified parents, moving to intercept the rest of the horde. Her undead father lets out a furious roar, his humanity completely gone, replaced by mindless aggression. Yunqi and his mount crash into the center of the horde, scattering the undead with overwhelming force. He lands with his sword at the ready, bracing himself for the inevitable counterattack from the surrounding monsters. The vice captain watches grimly, realizing Yunqi is now completely surrounded and the fight is about to get messy. Unfazed, Yunqi prepares to face the encroaching zombies, including the two figures that were once his companion's parents. The law enforcement team provides covering fire, their bullets striking the zombies closing in on Yunqi. Yunqi turns in confusion, surprised by the sudden support. From a distance, the squad's snipers take aim, providing precise covering fire. The vice captain chides him for his recklessness, reminding him he's not fighting alone. Another soldier grins, eager to join the fray and compete for the valuable points. Yunqi smirks and proposes a deal. They'll each hunt their own targets without interfering. With the agreement made, the combined forces unleash a furious assault on the remaining undead. 20 minutes later, Yunqi is a blur of motion, cutting through the last of the horde with brutal efficiency. The vice captain holds his ground, blocking a desperate lunge from one of the final zombies. The battle ends, leaving Yunqi and his spectral mount standing victorious amidst the carnage. A system notification suddenly appears, congratulating him on reaching the milestone of level 10. With the final monster defeated, Yunqi plants his sword in the ground, signaling the end of the long battle. He sits down to rest, acknowledging that the law enforcement team's support was crucial to their survival. His companion rushes to his side, offering to heal any injuries he sustained during the fight. She immediately begins casting her healing magic, enveloping him in a soothing green light. As she heals him, she's overcome with grief, realizing he's the only one she has left. Once his wounds are mended, he tells her it's time to go and say a final farewell to her parents. She looks up at him in shock, not understanding his sudden instruction. He gestures toward the fallen bodies of her zombified parents, pinned beneath his spectral mount. Overwhelmed with grief, she cries out their names, the reality of her loss finally sinking in. She realizes his seemingly reckless charge was actually a calculated move to give her this moment of closure. He hands her his own sword, entrusting her with the grim task of saying a final goodbye. With his blade in hand, she walks toward the pinned creatures, her resolve hardening with every step. The monsters that were once her parents snarl and struggle, their humanity completely erased by the infection. Her hands tremble, but she grips the hilt with all her might, steeling herself for what must be done. Tears stream down her face as she makes a final, heartbreaking plea to the people they once were. Yunqi watches with a grim expression, understanding her pain and offering to bear the burden for her. She turns away from his offer, choosing to face them herself and assure them she has found a way to survive. She promises her fallen parents that she will live on, finding the strength to move forward in this brutal new world. With a final tearful declaration, she lifts the heavy blade high, preparing to grant them peace. She brings the sword down with all her strength, delivering a merciful blow to end their suffering. The finality of her action is marked by a swift, decisive end to their suffering. A system notification suddenly informs Yunqi that his undead companion has died, leaving him utterly baffled. As she sits quietly with her grief, he realizes his spectral mount was destroyed along with her parents. He collapses in comical despair, mourning the loss of his powerful brother pig more than the actual tragedy. He inwardly fumes, shocked that his formidable servant was so easily dispatched by his companion's single strike. He watches the law enforcement team burn the monster corpses, knowing his chance to resurrect another pig is gone. Unwilling to accept his loss, he desperately tries to rouse his fallen mount, much to everyone's confusion. His companion questions his dramatic grief, forcing him to awkwardly deflect her observation. Their moment is interrupted as the vice captain calls for mages to tend to the wounded soldiers. Finding her resolve, she thanks Yunqi and heads off to fulfill her duty as a healer for the squad. He watches her go, calculating that the busy squad won't notice her rapidly developing abilities. He also reasons that keeping her occupied with healing will help distract her from her recent loss. His thoughts are interrupted by a mysterious voice suddenly echoing in his head. He whips around in alarm, startling the vice captain who is standing nearby. The vice captain questions his strange reaction, completely unaware of the voice. Yunqi cautiously asks if he heard the voice, but the soldier's confusion confirms he didn't. Playing it cool, he dismisses his own question, leaving the soldier completely baffled. He inwardly deduces the voice must be coming from the game interface since no one else reacted. His annoyance grows as more messages flood his vision, confirming the game now has a voice chat feature. A large, glowing blue system window materializes before him, demanding his attention. He examines the new interface, surprised to discover a previously unknown group channel. A system notification confirms he's been forcibly joined to a group called the Apocalypse Walkers. His expression hardens as a strange blue light suddenly envelops his entire body. In a blinding flash, his consciousness is ripped from the real world and transported elsewhere. He materializes in a virtual meeting room, seated at a large table with 9 other mysterious figures. Taking in his surroundings, he realizes he's been pulled into a shared consciousness space. He notes the lack of options to leave or add friends, concluding this group is mandatory. It dawns on him that all 10 members were predetermined from the very beginning of the game. He scans the other shadowed members, trying to understand the purpose of this strange assembly. A masked figure in seat 6 condescendingly questions his ignorance about their secret group. Yunqi feigns ignorance, questioning the masked figure's cryptic comment. The masked figure identifies Yunqi's sword as the source of his special status. A powerful woman on a throne warns that their identities must remain secret, as their allegiances are uncertain. Unfazed, Yunqi presses for more information, demanding to know the meaning of Apocalypse Walker. The woman on the throne hesitates, but another member eagerly jumps in to explain. An enthusiastic member with a shield reveals they are the 10 chosen wielders of powerful Titan artifacts. He learns that a supercomputer named Titan predicted the world's end and created these artifacts for 10 chosen champions. These artifacts act like a cheat code, allowing the 10 members to absorb game data and constantly upgrade their abilities. Yunki finally understands he is one of these 10 elite players, chosen to wield a world-changing power. He realizes his family sacrificed their own safety by giving him the artifact, the Blade of Annihilation, to ensure he would survive. The masked man, annoyed by Yunqi's silence, impatiently demands his attention. Yunqi ignores the taunt, instead probing for information about the major families in Zhongdu. The masked man reveals that the elite families were pre-warned, with most of their heirs safely evacuated. Hearing this, Yunqi quietly deduces that his own family must also be secure. Another member shifts the topic, inquiring about their artifact's compatibility level, revealing his own is at 10%. A mysterious female member listens silently, her expression hidden in the shadows. The others confirm their compatibility is also 10%, leading to the conclusion that it's a universal starting point. With no more information to share, one of the members announces their departure from the virtual space. Yunqi's consciousness snaps back to reality, finding himself once again on the ruined battlefield. He reflects on the sudden meeting, concluding that with everyone on guard, he can't trust his fellow artifact wielders. He grasps that his artifact is a game-breaking cheat and questions if it possesses its own intelligence. As if in response, a brilliant orb of blue energy materializes before him. The light coalesces into a tiny, smug dragon that cheekily confirms his suspicions. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he realizes just how incredible his personal cheat code truly is. He worries the flashy creature will attract unwanted attention, but it assures him only he can see it. He questions if the creature is the central intelligence of Titan, only to be told he's not yet worthy of that power. The creature materializes a pair of sunglasses, introducing itself as a clone of Titan's AI and demanding to be called Virtuous Ancestor. Unimpressed by the ridiculous title, he correctly deduces the main Titan AI is secured at the military headquarters. He tries to sweet-talk the AI for more cheats, but it retorts that his powerful class was the ultimate cheat all along. The AI reveals its full power is locked until the game officially starts, leaving Yunqi to survive on his own until then. He looks aside with a grim expression, concluding this unreliable system is all he has for now. He realizes he must wait for the game's official start tomorrow to learn more, just as his companion calls his name. She rushes to his side, asking what he was thinking about, but he coolly deflects the question. Captain Han praises her healing skills, thanking her for treating his gravely injured team members. The captain then extends an invitation, offering the two of them a permanent place on his squad. Yunqi politely declines the offer, revealing his intention to leave the city entirely. His companion immediately latches onto his arm, declaring she will follow him wherever he goes. The captain smiles, acknowledging their bravery and agreeing that leaving the city might be their safest option. He offers them a vehicle key, a reward for their help, and a means to escape before it's too late. Yunqi accepts the key, but questions how the captain's own team will manage without their transportation. Captain Han explains his team's unwavering loyalty, stating they will face their fate together. He waves them off with a friendly challenge, hoping they meet again as allies, not enemies. Yunqi and his companion watch the squad depart, now a two-person team against the world. She questions his decision to refuse the captain's offer, believing there's safety in numbers. He explains that with the game's rules changing, crowded places will become the most dangerous. He forms a new plan, asking her to lead them to a remote farm she knows. With a smirk, he playfully warns her not to trick him into visiting any more relatives. Catching the key, he announces it's time to claim the gift the captain left for them. They find their promised vehicle, a pair of simple bicycles parked on the desolate street. His companion stares in disbelief, her hopes of a swift escape dashed by the humble sight. Just as their hope fades, a sleek, futuristic motorcycle materializes before them, the captain's true gift. Yunqi's disappointment instantly turns to pure joy, absolutely thrilled with their new high-tech ride. The motorcycle's console flares to life, its systems activating with a brilliant blue glow. He takes the controls with his companion behind him, savoring the power of his new dream machine. His companion pouts, clearly annoyed that the motorcycle is getting more of his attention than she is. He revs the powerful engine, kicking up dust as he prepares to unleash the bike's full speed. With a sudden burst of acceleration, they rocket down the street, the force catching her completely by surprise. She clings to him in terror, pleading for him to slow down as the world blurs past them. He ignores her pleas, laughing as they blast through the city streets, leaving the undead far behind. They finally break free from the urban ruins, speeding through the countryside towards their new destination. They race through the countryside, leaving the chaos of the city far behind them. His companion guides them to their destination, a large farm estate she remembers from her childhood. But as they dismount, she suddenly stops him, her eyes wide with alarm. From the shadows, a humanoid robot with glowing red eyes silently observes them. They quickly realize they're not alone, as an entire squad of robots has them surrounded. A close-up reveals the robots are stained and damaged, their glowing eyes fixed on the newcomers. His companion explains that these robots handle all the farm work, allowing the villagers a life of leisure. Yunqi's gaze darkens as he grimly asks if killing is now part of their programming. She looks at him in confusion, completely missing the sinister implication of his question. He reveals the grim reality, pointing out the smell of blood and the dark stains covering the machines. The grim scene confirms his fears, showing the devastating outcome of the robot uprising. He smirks, noting the robots are strong but unarmed, a challenge he's more than ready to face. His companion grips her glowing dagger, her expression hardening as she prepares for another fight. Their preparations are cut short by the arrival of a small bee-like drone buzzing towards them. The drone hovers before them, emitting a bright light as it delivers a message from its unseen master. Yunqi pulls his companion behind him, realizing this small machine is a scout for whoever is in charge. The drone issues an ultimatum, declaring that he may leave, but his companion must stay behind. Yunqi's face contorts with cold fury at the audacious demand. He snatches the drone from the air, effortlessly crushing the small machine in his hand. He's suddenly struck by an invisible force, as system notifications warn him of incoming damage. He furiously crushes the drone, silently vowing to dismantle whoever dared to threaten him. A system notification confirms he's destroyed a boss-level object, rewarding him with a surprising amount of points. He looks on in surprise, realizing even this small piece of junk was a valuable target. He deduces a mutated farmer is the boss controlling this entire robot army from the shadows. A cunning smirk spreads across his face as he realizes this farm is a potential gold mine for ranking points. He weighs the risks, knowing he's exposed while the hidden enemy could use the robots to target his companion. His companion grabs his arm with fierce determination, vowing to be his comrade in arms, not a burden. He dismisses her talk of sacrifice, confidently telling her she is more than capable of surviving. He tosses her a mysterious golden object, instructing her to use it against any robots that attack. She catches the device, confused as a system window reveals it's a special prop, bypassing normal class restrictions. He explains the golden device is an electromagnetic pulse, a standard safety measure for controlling rogue farm robots. She marvels at his expertise as he clarifies the pulse gun is powerful but has a high energy cost. He smirks, casually mentioning his background as a top mechanical engineering student from an elite college. With his sword drawn, he warns her to be ready for the tough battle ahead. A new mechanical bee drone suddenly buzzes into view, capturing their attention. The drone lands on a robot, and a mysterious voice taunts him, mocking the EMP device's 10-minute cooldown. His companion gasps in shock, realizing the voice is coming directly from the robot army's leader. Yunqi's expression darkens as the voice questions his motive for earning points. The unseen enemy continues its lecture, questioning his ignorance about the game's true nature. The voice reveals a horrifying truth. The point system is designed to make players kill each other for the entertainment of the game's creators. The drone's faceplate glows, hinting at a chilling revelation. Yunqi processes the disturbing information about the point system. The drone explains how even small communities can yield significant points. His companion reacts with horror to the implications of the drone's words. Yunqi reflects on the rapid descent into violence since the apocalypse began. He questions the drone's logic, seemingly unconcerned by the threat. Yunqi reveals his high rank, demonstrating his prowess in the deadly game. His companion expresses concern for his safety, questioning his provocative actions. Yunqi reveals his true intentions, hinting at a dangerous plan. He goads the unseen enemy, challenging them to a confrontation. The voice from the drone demands proof that he is the mysterious third-ranked player. Yunqi nonchalantly claims he found a 10x point buff from a supply pack. He then strikes the drone, challenging the unseen enemy to watch the leaderboard. A system notification confirms the kill, awarding him a multiplied point bonus for his efforts. The hidden mastermind watches the leaderboard update, his fury growing as he realizes Yunqi's claim is true. Enraged, the mastermind orders his entire robot army to converge and destroy the intruder. The robot's eyes flash red in unison, acknowledging their master's command to attack. Yunqi calmly tells his companion to find cover while he prepares to face the impending assault. He stands his ground, completely surrounded as the horde of mechanical soldiers charges toward him. With a flash of his blade, he meets the charge head-on, beginning his one-man war against the machines. He quickly deduces the enemy's plan is to wear him down with endless robots. Refusing to fall for the trap, he unleashes a powerful sweeping energy attack. His blade shatters a robot, and he dares the unseen enemy to send more. He relentlessly continues his assault, cutting down another mechanical soldier. With a final, powerful slash, he clears the immediate area of threats. From her hiding spot, his companion watches in awe, impressed by his incredible strength. But a new threat emerges as a massive, spiked fist hurtles towards him. The powerful blow lands, overwhelming his defenses with its sheer force. He is sent flying backwards, crashing hard into the stone courtyard. Lying motionless on the ground, his sword just out of reach, the battle takes a grim turn. His companion cries out in alarm, witnessing his sudden downfall. The mastermind mocks Yunqi's apparent weakness, gloating over his imminent defeat. The mastermind questions Yunqi's ability to fight against superior machines. A robot moves to capitalize on Yunqi's vulnerable state, aiming to steal his points. The mastermind is suddenly taken aback, sensing something unexpected. The mastermind questions the strange energy emanating from Yunqi. The mastermind realizes Yunqi is activating a powerful ability. The mastermind recognizes his companion and her potential threat. His companion activates the EMP device, preparing to unleash its power. His companion unleashes the EMP blast, affecting the nearby robots. The mastermind's personal robot stands its ground, unaffected by the blast and ready for a fight. She fires back at the robot, but her attack is easily deflected by its defenses. Her confidence shatters as she realizes her weapon is completely ineffective against this new threat. A new figure emerges from the shadows, casually stepping forward with an aura of menacing power. The farm's true master reveals himself, a mutated human who promises to make her pay for the trouble. He closes the distance in an instant, towering over her with a terrifying presence. She desperately tries to fire the EMP device again, her last line of defense against the approaching monster. But he effortlessly disarms her with a single powerful kick, sending the weapon flying. On the ground, Yunqi's eyes snap open, having witnessed the entire exchange. His companion stands defiantly between them, vowing to protect him even as the mastermind prepares to strike. The mastermind scoffs at her defiance, telling her to worry about her own fate. He dismisses her weapon, confident that she poses no real threat to him. A system warning confirms her EMP device is nearly depleted, forcing her to consider a desperate escape. The mastermind gloats over his apparent victory, moving in to finish off his downed opponent. But on the ground, Yunqi's eyes snap open, a brilliant blue light revealing his deception. The mastermind recoils in shock, realizing his opponent was faking his defeat. Yunqi rises to his feet with his sword, confirming the entire ruse with a confident stance. He lunges forward, mocking the mastermind's belief that his machines could ever defeat him. His blade becomes a blur of motion, closing in on the stunned mastermind with lethal intent. The powerful strike connects, unleashing a shockwave that sends the mastermind reeling. The mastermind's personal robot locks onto Yunqi, its shoulder cannons preparing to fire. It unleashes a devastating volley of energy bullets raining down on the battlefield. Yunqi becomes a whirlwind of motion, effortlessly deflecting the entire barrage with his blade. The mastermind recoils in shock, finding the tip of Yunqi's sword inches from his face. But Yunqi hesitates, his expression shifting to confusion as his attack is unexpectedly halted. A system alert reveals the mastermind's robot has activated a defense protocol, shielding its host. Yunqi leaps back just as the robot's countermeasure erupts in a powerful explosion. Landing gracefully beside his companion, he signals that it's time for their escape. She quickly hops onto the back of the high-tech motorcycle, ready to flee. They speed away from the farm, leaving the enraged mastermind and his robot army in the dust. The enraged mastermind vows to hunt them down, furious that his perfect defense system was breached. His robot unleashes a devastating attack, causing a massive explosion in their wake. His companion clings to him, shocked that such a powerful military weapon exists on a simple farm. She turns to him with concern, asking if he was injured during the chaotic escape. He confidently reveals his feigned weakness was a calculated ploy to lure the mastermind out into the open. The mastermind's personal robot gives chase, determined not to let them get away. Yunqi expertly swerves the motorcycle, narrowly dodging the machine's powerful ground-shattering attack. His companion warns that they'll be vulnerable to the robot's ranged attacks in the open fields. But Yunqi's eyes narrow with focus, revealing he has a different plan in mind. He spots his opportunity and veers sharply down a narrow street, executing the next phase of his strategy. He spots the corpse of a mutated dog, realizing the city's chaos has left behind potential assets. With a determined expression, he channels his necromantic power, preparing to resurrect a new servant. Dark energy surges into the fallen creature, twisting its form as it begins to reanimate. The beast rises as a spectral hound, roaring with newfound power under his command. His new undead servant easily keeps pace with the speeding motorcycle, ready for battle. His companion realizes his escape was a calculated move to find a new ally, but she doubts its strength. The mastermind's robot closes in, taunting them as it prepares to crush the fleeing pair. But Yunqi remains perfectly calm, his plan unfolding exactly as he intended. He commands his new spectral hound to attack, unleashing it on their pursuer. The undead beast leaps into the air, launching a corrosive liquid projectile at the giant robot. The mastermind grimaces as the corrosive spit splatters across his cockpit, obscuring his view. The spectral hound latches onto the robot's head, relentlessly clawing at the machine's viewport. A system alert confirms the liquid is highly acidic, infuriating the mastermind as it floods his sensors. With the robot distracted, Yunqi seizes the opportunity and charges forward to strike. He unleashes a devastating slash, targeting the giant machine's vulnerable knee joint. The mastermind stares in disbelief as critical warning alarms blare throughout his cockpit. The powerful blow severs the robot's leg, sending the massive machine crashing to the ground. A system notification reveals the damage has triggered an emergency protocol, diverting power to the compromised area. Trapped and enraged, the mastermind can only watch helplessly as his opponent prepares the final blow. Yunqi commands his spectral servant to press the attack, ensuring their enemy has no chance to recover. The spectral hound lunges, ready to carry out its master's command. The hound unleashes a stream of corrosive liquid. The robot recoils as the liquid hits its surface. The mastermind inside panics as the cockpit fills with corrosive gas. The hound's attack forces the mastermind out of the robot. The robot's defense system activates, targeting the hound. The mastermind pleads with the robot not to fire. The robot shuts down, entering sleep mode. The giant robot crashes to the ground, defeated. Yunqi reflects on the surprisingly easy victory. The mastermind thanks Yunqi for disabling the robot's self-defense program. Yunqi warns the mastermind about the dangers of relying too much on technology. The mastermind expresses fear and disbelief at the unfolding situation. Yunqi prepares to deliver a decisive blow, his sword glowing with power. System warnings flash, indicating critical damage to the robot's core. The mastermind cries out in despair as his precious machine is destroyed. A system notification confirms the kill, awarding Yunqi a substantial number of points. Yunqi turns his attention to the mastermind, his expression cold and menacing. The mastermind begs for mercy, terrified of what Yunqi will do next. Yunqi questions the mastermind's actions and the fate of the farm's original inhabitants. The mastermind's eye widens in terror as he stammers, completely powerless before Yunqi. With a final brutal strike, Yunqi proves his philosophy that ultimate power is the only truth that matters. A system notification confirms the kill, awarding him a massive point bonus thanks to his earlier bluff. He stands over his fallen enemy, feigning disappointment that his plan to stay under the radar has failed. The leaderboard updates in a flash, officially declaring him the new #1 ranked player. A confident smirk spreads across his face as he savors the exhilarating feeling of being at the very top.